Well, howdy, and welcome to Radical Equations, Part 1. Now, I've written one of these radical equations here, and how do you even know you got a radical equation? Well, the giveaway is this, right? You got a radical in an equation. Equation meaning you got an equal sign, like a left side equals a right side. So that's what it's all about. We want to solve radical equations, and we still want to figure out x's. What x's make this left side equal the right side? I mean, that's still the name of the game. It's kind of puzzle solving, really. It's like this is a kind of a cool little puzzle, and someone says, figure out what x makes this tick. So let me show you how we do it. We've got a series of little steps here. Maybe I'll sneak those on the side here. Step 1, isolate the radical. So isolation is what we're after. So I'm just going to take 7 away from both sides. So that gives me this guy here. Square root of 2x minus 1 equals, now remember I took 7 away from both sides. Alright, so we did it. We've isolated the radical. What do you want me to do with it? Okay, here's what I want you to do with it. Get rid of it. Okay, get rid of the radical. Now the way you get rid of it, if it's a square root, you square both sides. Okay, so I'm going to do this. If it was a cube root, I would have to cube both sides. If it was a fourth root, I'd have to raise both sides to 4. Okay? Most of the time, you're going to run into square roots. Okay? Now, square rooting and squaring, they undo each other. They're inverse operations, so you end up with 2x minus 1. Okay? And over on this side, 7 squared is 49. Well, once you've done that, you finish solving. So just solve for your unknown. Okay, so that's basically the steps. So now I'm going to add 1 over to the other side. So that's now a 50. And I'm going to divide by 2. It would seem to me that 25 is the mystery number. Now, there's a really important fourth step here that generally people don't want to bother doing. Check. You really have to do it, though, when you're dealing with radical equations, because there's always a possibility you came up with what could be an extraneous solution. An extraneous solution is if this number looks great, but it might not really work. Okay? So I'm going to try it out. So this is my little checking part. Okay? So check. I'm going to put in the 25 into the original equation and see if it works. Okay, so I'm going to plug it in here where that x is. 2 times 25 minus 1. And then here's the question mark. Does it really turn out to equal 14? If it does, great. And if it doesn't, well, then we know it's extraneous. So I got to do the checking here. So what have I got? The square root of, looks like 50 minus 1. Whoops, squeezed myself right out of there. Okay, in other words, this looks like it is 7 plus the square root of 49, which would be 7 plus 7. Well, by golly, I think that equals 14, and that's a legitimate, good solution. Perfect. So now, let's do another example. Okay, so in this example, what are we going to try and solve? Oh, this time, I've got a radical on both sides. So I've got a square root of 5x minus 3 on the left side. And on the right side, I have the square root of 4x minus 12. Okay, so as far as isolating the radical, well, they kind of isolate each other. So I'm ready to go ahead and square both sides. So that's what I'm going to do. Basically, I'm going to take this and square it, take this and square it. So now I got 5x minus 3, and that's supposed to equal 4x minus 12. All right, let's take 4x's away from both sides. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add 3 over, and it looks like we've got ourselves a solution. Looking pretty good, so let's go ahead and do that check. All right. So I'm going to plug it in on the left side, and that gives me the square root of 5 times negative 9. minus 3. And I'm going to see, does that equal, on the right side, the square root of 4 times negative 9 minus 12. Okay, so this is negative 45 minus 3. So, well, that's not looking very good here. I'm trying to get the square root of negative 48. Ugh. Okay, well, let's see what we get on the right side. Square root of what? Negative 36 minus 12. Well, it also is kind of goofy. I'm trying to get the square root of negative 48. I mean, it looks really nice in one sense, and yet I can't do this. I can't square root negative numbers all of a sudden, even if they look kind of the same. So my conclusion is, no, you're no good. You are what we call an extraneous solution. You look good, but you know what? In the end, doesn't work. So, sorry, no can do. The correct answer is there is actually no solutions to this this particular equation. All right. So sometimes they just don't work. And with that, I'm going to stop for now, and we're going to pick it up with some more radical equations a little bit later on.